Everything has to be quick. Everything has to be now, which goes back to the point of this generation, our society, going into more of excess consumption and pleasure. Yeah. Because we're going to want more and we need it now.
Danny P. Santiago on the podcast, baby. What it do, bro?
My man, Rick.
What's
Ricky
up?
P. How you doing, bro?
Dude, I am chilling. I'm a lot better that you're here now. What is up, man? How are you?
I'm chilling, bro. I'm chilling, but I think it's only fair if I kind of open up with a disclaimer real quick and
Go ahead.
Share a little bit about why I call you Rick. Because I think people on the podcast...
I think I even forgot why you call me Rick. I just got so used to it now. Go ahead.
So little disclaimer here, people. You're going to hear me call Nick Rick. And that is a nickname that I gave Nick years ago when we used to work at Cottonwood. I think it was maybe like 5-6 years ago when we met.
Something like that.
And when he told me his name was Nick, like I just thought, yeah, like Rick. And people would ask me like, do you name him like Rick or Nick? Do you give him that nickname because like it rhymes? Like, is that what it is? And
yeah.
No, Rick is just like a really cool name. Like if you know Rick,
you want me to change my name to Rick so bad.
I mean, you don't really look like a Nick. You look like a Rick. Like cool, man.
Like even your kids know me by Uncle Rick.
But really though, when somebody asks me, they're like, "Hey, do you call him Rick because like it rhymes with Nick?" I'm like, "No," because if that was the case, I'd give him maybe a different name. I don't know, like because if that was the case, I mean, you're not a Hick, so I can't call you Hick, right?
I hope not.
Can't call you Dick.
I mean, you could, but
that's not you.
Oh, jeez.
But and by the way, I mean that in all honesty, man, that name needs to go. Like in our generation, is really good right now on getting rid of things and reinventing the wheel. That name Dick needs to go.
Why?
It just doesn't fit right. Like, could you imagine that if I told my wife, like, I'm like, yeah, babe, we're having a boy, so I'm gonna name him Dick. Like she would slap.
What about Richard? Because that's where that name is coming from.
You
right?
can be called Richard, but I just don't know about the D one. This kind of weird. But no, back to the whole thing. So the name Rick is really cool.
Yeah.
Like think about it from like, cause we're wrestling geeks, right?
Yeah.
So there's Ric Flair.
Mm.
Don't get no cooler than Ric Flair. Come on, player.
Legend, for real.
Rick Steiner, the Steiner brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Rick the Model Martel.
Mm. Ravishing Rick Rude.
Come on, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Get the little swerve on. You feel me?
Mm-hmm. That's
So
right.
Rick is just a cool name. So when I see you, it's just cool, bro. And that's the first impression I actually got of you, man. When we first met. I don't know if you know that. Like you're just really cool.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Talk about a little bit how we first met. Just real brief. Real brief.
Okay, so you and I actually met at Cottonwood Creatives, and you were posting pictures on social media and tagging Cottonwood. And it was Nick Medina. That. So when we did the creatives, I was hoping you would be there. And so we launched the meeting, and
that was a time, dude.
That was a time. And Nick wasn't there. And I was like, wait, hold on. Like everybody, I'm looking around, where's this Nick Medina guy? And I swear, like right after I said that, Mike Wilson comes upstairs and goes to my office and says, hey, there's a volunteer downstairs.
That was Mike Wilson?
I think it was Mike Wilson.
I didn't even know that.
And so I went downstairs, and there you were in the back door just by yourself. And somebody else was with me. This is really funny. Yeah. Somebody else was with me.
Was it Gian?
It might have been GP.
Yeah.
But somebody, like, so when I was like, hey, man, how you doing, man? I'm down. You're Nick, right? I knew you by name already, And you were like, yeah, sup? And you just slapped my hand and walked straight upstairs. And homeboy looked at me and was like, really? He's going to be a volunteer here? Like, where's his heart? I'm like, no, he's the one. I said, this guy is the one. So I am so honored and privileged to be on this podcast right now because of how incredible you are as a person and how creative you are. I think you are a gift to this world, man. So
I appreciate that.
I see it. So look at that 5-6 years ago. And then look at you now. You got a podcast, still being creative.
Chilling, bro. Dennis is a big part of the reason why I got my first full-time job at a church and really helped me to grow in ministry skills and just grow overall in general as a person. So I appreciate you, Danny P. Appreciate you being here on the podcast. Let's get into it. We had some things that we wanted to talk about. First topic of discussion is kind of the year 2020, and I kind of actually got into this topic a little bit with Micah Vargas,
Okay.
But first question is, what do you think 2020 revealed about like our culture? What did it bring out of us, Americans?
I laugh. Yeah, we laugh about it, but I laugh because it's so deep, man. Right, and we're just like jumping right into the deep end, which is great. I think that's kind of where we are, but. Yeah, 2020, man, has been a crazy year. 2020 is definitely not the vision, bro. Like I think it really foreshadowed what's to come and how broken our humanity really is. How universally divided we are. You know, looking at it from the context of the church, like you can definitely see the division politically. You know, red lines, blue lines, and then even going into, you know, the whole coronavirus. Yeah. The opinions behind that. You know, it's crazy, man. So it divided a lot of people, but even culturally, like outside of Christianity, right? Like in America, you know what I'm saying? It's really tough, man. So I think 2020 was a revealing year, and it was the beginning of really shaping the narrative for Western culture. Like I think the narrative has already been shaped, but this sort of puts the stamp on it to say, okay, this is where we're going to go.
Talk about that narrative. Like, what do you mean? And expand on that. Yeah.
So I think that what's interesting. So you're looking at 2020, there's so many things that happen, right? So I mentioned coronavirus, there's the election.
Racial injustice.
So, you know, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, you know, my man George Floyd, like all this stuff that happened and led to this sort of turmoil. And so it began sort of this, it birthed out this movement of wanting to be united. You know, having a united front and going against oppression. And so, you know, you had great voices in that, right? And people fighting for equality and equity, right? So in 2020, what we're starting to see now is that there is a rise of quote unquote unity that's happening, right? So yeah.
Unity with a lot of division.
Exactly, right? Yeah. So we have all that happening. And then we're starting to see that even with the evolution of technology and us trying to be connected even more so through our own devices, our own ways, apart from any sort of like absolute truth, right? So truth is now what we define.
What each individual person defines.
Exactly, right? So I believe, right, that there's going to come a time where we will forego our freedom for the exchange of excess consumption and pleasure. And I think that's where we're going to go next.
Yeah.
Because we're kind of seeing that already in society, right? Like people, you know, we're okay with, you know, just if you want to talk a little bit about how, you know, data in general, right? Like there's really not a lot of structure around that. So we freely give away data. We're online 24/7.
Facebook,
Instagram, right? Post ads, all that is going somewhere, right? And so I think we're becoming more and more okay with doing that for the exchange of more and more pleasure.
Giving away our personal information, everything about us and the things that we post, just to get that, you know, the pleasure of having a social media platform, posting these things, getting the likes, comments, all that kind of stuff.
Right, right. And so, and even like look at like our government now, like, right, we have stimulus checks going out, which are really helping people, right? There's a large percentage of people.
Shout out to the stimulus check. I just got mine yesterday.
You know what I'm saying?
Invest in Bitcoin. I'm just kidding. Anyways, go ahead.
But and that's the move, right? So if you're going to get stuff like that, invest. But there's just like, you can see it in society where we're giving out a lot, you know, giving people just more and more and more. And so I think that's what 2020 really is about. It's about this whole fight for freedom. But what kind of freedom are we really fighting for? It's just a freedom for more, like the freedom to freely engage in more consumption and just live in a world of pleasure, right? Kind of like this hedonistic society. That's kind of where we're at in America. So
yeah, I feel that. So you feel like we as Americans as a whole, we're fighting for, or we're going towards a freedom to have more pleasure, is what you're saying at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, yeah. And I think we're gonna see more of that for sure.
I can see that happening, definitely. Talk about how another thing that can kind of go into that, trying to get more pleasure and maybe even escape a pain, is artificial intelligence and that sort of stuff. I don't have a lot of information about that. I know you do. I know you researched it and you've watched a bunch of videos. You sent me one of the videos too. Yeah. And I've watched a few on YouTube here and there. But talk about how AI affects our trajectory in the future coming out of 2020.
Oh man, AI. So it's already here, right? And so AI is digital. All that stuff is essentially like our new industrial revolution in America. And so there's a huge boom around it and everyone is connected on it. So when we think about the coronavirus, right? Like imagine if we had the coronavirus like 15 years ago before there was all this.
Yeah.
Like what would happen to America? Like
I don't even know.
We might collapse, right? Or a lot of people might really get sick. There'd be more deaths, mortality.
We wouldn't have the medicine that we do now.
We wouldn't have the medicine, right? And we wouldn't be able to keep our jobs. Like for some people, like a lot of people lost their jobs, but there's a large portion of other people, like kind of in the white collar industry, that were able to keep their jobs by working from home, doing the whole Zoom thing. You feel me?
Zoom calls,
technology was really like sort of that linchpin or that link that kept it kind of all together.
Right.
And with technology, like it made it very easy for us. And I use easy very lightly because I know it was a very tough time for all of us, a lot of us, but easy in the sense where we were able to kind of do things and stay connected, even though we couldn't be in close proximity with one another. Right. So, AI is, it's a paradox, that whole topic, because there's a lot of good, but there's also a lot of bad in it. You know, we just got to be mindful of that.
Talk about the good first, and then we can get into the bad and weird stuff, because I've seen some videos, man. But talk about the good first about AI, what it can do for us.
Well, let's talk about smart cars real quick. Let's talk about Tesla, how that's just an amazing car.
My boy Denny just bought a Tesla.
Come on.
Let's go.
Oh, man.
He's blessed, bro.
So, look, what I would say is that as much crap I give AI, like there's a lot of good in it, right? And one of that being like the innovation aspect of it. So we're already seeing like EV vehicles and, modern medicine, the ability to have some form of connection, on a very basic level. So being on Zooms and social media. Yeah.
I had a story about that. I seen this one, I don't know what it was, some platform where it's like you put the goggles on and you like walk around like free world. Someone got baptized through AI, and I'm like, I don't think that counts as a baptism, but that's pretty cool. But it was like this guy that goes around and just like preaches the gospel basically all online. So that was dope to see that, even though I'm not sure how valid that baptism is.
Right. That's funny, man.
But I think there is a lot of good that can come out of AI, but it's just so weird thinking about all the bad stuff that can happen, because I'm like, I don't think it's worth it.
Nah, man. Nah.
What do you think?
I don't know, man. You're talking to a guy who is paradoxical. So like, I'm the type of guy who kind of lives in this world of where, I struggle with two realities.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about like just an artificial reality, like that kind of stuff, right? But I'm talking about just holding two opposing truths together and living sane, right?
What are those opposing truths?
So the opposing truth would be like in AI, it's like, hey, let's ditch AI because these are the implications. They're negative, right? So they can control people, right? They can manipulate behavior. There's even like artificial intelligence out there talking about brain chips and things like that, where
that's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? So like there's that whole argument, right? So I see that. And then there's the other argument where it's like, no, these things are actually really good. Like we look at, as I mentioned earlier, modern medicine, even social media when used correctly, right? Or, there's just these two sides of it where you can have really good arguments about AI and why we need it. We're kind of headed there already, and then you can see the negative. And so I'm kind of in the middle of that, where like I hold, the tension between the two, where I understand like, that is negative, but this is also positive here. But I think in our culture, that's very countercultural to have that mentality, because we're either one or the other. We either are fully no AI or we're fully yes AI, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sort of a moderate in that, and I think that's kind of like how we probably should view AI, right? Is having a very mindful lens of it and being more responsible, understanding the implications of giving yourself over to the hands of technology and what that can do to you, right?
Yeah.
So. Yeah, man.
Like, bro, what would you do if they just said, hey, put this chip in your head and you'll be able to live in your own world?
I can't do it, bro. I can't, man. I'm gonna be honest, man, that'd be tempting to think about, but I'm such a paranoid, bro. Like I've got so much anxiety that just the idea of something going in my brain.
Nah, I can't mess with it. I don't even want to take the freaking, vaccine.
Oh, you feel me? Like,
I don't think they're putting anything in it, but I just don't want to take it. There's coronavirus, it's a whole cloud of weirdness around it that I'm just like, I don't want nothing to do with it.
Nah. Yeah. I respect that, bro. Like, to put something in your brain, I feel like the brain is just like one of that organ where people like, even like the best doctors, like it's such a complex organ. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? We don't have a firm grip on truth of how to, operate and do. I mean, we've got incredible doctors and incredible technology out there, but I don't know if I trust something in my brain. And then you can just like manipulate me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Here's the other thing about that. So imagine this though. So this is one of the implications as well on like having a chip in your brain. So I've always been into like Rubik's cubes, and I've been doing them, right? And I'm always trying to find new patterns and how to do it quickly and all that, right?
Yeah.
And I've spent hours like trying to figure this stuff out, right? It's kind of the nerd in me. Like I just enjoy doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
But imagine if they were to put a chip in your brain and you no longer have to learn how to do a Rubik's cube.
You have all the answers?
You have all the answers already. I don't need to learn like how to play the piano, right? Like someone doesn't need to teach me like any of those fundamental, you know, notes that I need to.
Yeah.
You feel me? So that's essentially what it'll be, right? So
that's crazy.
That's what it could be, I think, right? And that's dangerous. Or what about playing chess? I love playing chess. That would be crazy. Like we both have a chip in our brain, and like
it'd be like playing the computer. Like if you'd be doing whatever the computer would do.
Exactly. So good point. So how much of that is actually me?
Exactly.
And how much of that is actually a computer?
At the very least, you'd be influenced to make whatever decision that the artificial intelligence feels is right.
Come on.
That's crazy. But that's like, we're already we're there right now, especially with social media. I was talking to Anthony about this. Where the algorithms feed us what we end up probably believing.
Absolutely.
Usually they're feeding us stuff that we want to see, we want to hear. How true is it? How real is it? I don't know. Yeah. But it's like it's like they're priming us for that, what we're talking about right now.
Exactly. And that's kind of the danger, right? What we have in culture, because, you know, and it's only getting smarter, right? These algorithms are getting so smarter and so advanced. It's like almost like iRobot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I was just talking about to some people the other day. I'm like, I think they listen to us to a certain extent.
Come on, bro.
But I was with them and I was like, all right, check this out. So they were talking about like clothing brands, and I'm like, all right, well, I shop at ASOS. I haven't been on the ASOS app in a minute. So I go like this. ASOS.
Yeah.
Next day,
come on,
I get an ASOS ad on TikTok. And I'm like, I've never got an ASOS ad on TikTok in my life, dude.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know. I think there's something, but I don't know. I could be signing whatever on those, you know, agreed forms and everything. I don't even know what it is.
No, I think voice is the next one, man. I think, you know, you're onto something. If they haven't developed it yet, it's in the works, definitely. But yeah, man, I mean, I think, you know, that's sort of the can be the dangers of AI, is that it really shapes your reality and your perception. So let me tell you something. Like if I, let's say I was like a right-wing nut and all I wanted to listen to was Fox News, right? When I go on social media, as you mentioned, my feed is going to be all Fox News, right?
Yeah.
My search engine, when I ask questions, right, the auto filling of the questions, right, from Google, they're going to literally anticipate my thoughts, my behavior, like what I'm thinking, what I like, and give me something that has to do with those opinions, right?
Right.
So one example is that, and I was actually watching a documentary on this where he was talking about like how, you know, if you go on Google right now and you search climate change, right? Like you say, what is climate change? Google will literally give you, if you're here in California and you search that, Google will literally give you what is most popular, like amongst people in California. So in California, we're a bit more liberal, right? So it'd be like, what is climate change? And it'd be like, oh, climate change is great because X, Y, and Z. And there's going to be all these supportive facts or opinions, right, about climate change. You go somewhere that's a little bit more rural down south and you ask that same exact question, they're going to give you all the answers as to why climate change is incredibly wrong. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So based on like where you're at, right, these algorithms like in the search engines, right, is going to feed you what's most popular within there, right? Which is horrible because that's
like all political.
It's all political, right? But it's not, we're not even critically thinking at that point, right? We're just allowing these search engines and this algorithm to tell us, you know, what we should believe based on the majority around us. And what that does is that creates division.
Yeah, I feel that, man. I feel that. So coming off that, algorithms influence and AI augmented reality, how do we respond?
That's a good question.
Yeah, how do we respond? How do you respond? How would you respond? And how would you influence others to respond to all of that?
You know what, man? I'm thinking it's a really hard thing to do, like to respond well. And I think it's only going to get harder for us to learn how to create disciplines and have habits that safeguard us from falling prey or victim to being manipulated or someone feeding us, you know, junk, right? Like, I think that's kind of where I'm at in understanding that that's a reality. So for me, I'm not even gonna front, man. I'm on my phone all the time.
Yeah.
Like it is on me 24/7. That's
Same.
where I work. It's what I do. You know what I'm saying? And so that becomes a struggle. But I think that there needs to be a more rhythm and balance in how we're engaging with technology, and setting, setting boundaries on when to use certain apps or using certain devices. And that's really hard to do, especially in this time. But I think it's something that we're going to need to learn how to do for the next generation, for even my kids,
Yeah.
So for example, I try to I noticed that my daughter, they love the phone. They don't even know really fully how the phone works,
Right.
but they love it. I have a 2-year-old, she's going to be 2-year-old, Shemaya.
Yeah.
She'll find a toy phone and she thinks it's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because she sees mommy and daddy on it all the time.
That's real. That's
you know
real.
Saying?
Yeah.
So I've got to set a better example of how to engage without having these devices.
Mm-hmm.
And keeping it old school, man. Like having a conversation with people like this. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Off the phone thing, it's crazy seeing parents and parenting can literally be now. This is not good parenting. Parenting can literally just be the kids crying, give them the iPad, and they'll be on it for 8 hours the whole day, rest of the day, and that's it.
Yeah, that's
you don't
true,
have to do
man.
nothing. And it's like I feel like I've seen some people my generation or even younger will be like, there's not gonna be an iPad in my household just because I've seen these kids and how they act and how they respond, and they're antisocial and they don't want to have no conversations with no one.
And that's facts, bro. That's facts. And let me tell you something. We are seeing higher numbers in depression and anxiety, right, in our generation. Mm-hmm. And I would attribute that to AI, like digital, social media, being on our devices all the time. You know what I mean? I give you a quick story about my daughter. So I got a 5-year-old, and my father-in-law had this brilliant idea of buying her a what is it, not an iPad, but it's the Amazon tablet.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, when my daughter got that, before that, she was sharp. My God, she's still sharp. We got to get it twisted. My daughter is brilliant, but her attention span now is shot. Bro, we were just earlier today, she was watching Netflix, right? So we had it on, and she was watching a show. 5 minutes into that show, she changes it and goes to another show. 5 minutes into that show, she goes into another one. And then when she tries to go on YouTube, all she watches is these really quick interactions of people's hands building stuff. Mm-hmm. Like taking Play-Doh and making a house or doing something crafty. And there's no audio. There's just a kind of music in the background, but it's all this kind of mental, I don't know, man. It's like a mental massage for them. They just get trapped watching these things and they happen so fast, right? Mm-hmm. That what that does is, I believe that's in their subconscious. So then from seeing that visually, right, now that's how they respond to everything else. Everything has to be quick. Everything has to be now, which goes back to the point of this generation, our society, going into more of excess consumption and pleasure. Yeah. Because we're going to want more and we need it now.
Fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because people can't, even this is only a 30-minute podcast, 30-ish minutes podcast. And people can't even sit down and listen to that for the whole time, which is why I have to make micro content and put it on TikTok and Instagram. So if people get intrigued enough, they'll come back and listen to the full thing.
For sure, man.
Man, that's crazy though. Cause we're the iPad example, use the example with Maylee, your daughter. It's crazy how young we just learn things and we just run with it.
Yeah.
We can run with that habit, whether it's with the iPhone, iPad, whatever it is, run that habit the whole life. And there comes a certain time when you get old enough, I talked this about before, where whether you're inherited habits through your family or just picked up on your own through friends or whatever,
right?
There comes a time in your life where you have to break off the habits that you wake up and realize, oh my gosh, what am I doing? This isn't healthy. This isn't good. So yeah, man. Yeah. And as parents, as I'm not a parent, but you are, man, you got to raise them up. You got to raise them up.
Yeah.
Your responsibility, at least until they're 18.
No, you're right about that, man. Right. So, yeah, man, it's interesting. So I think how we should respond really is not being afraid of disciplines, right? And having solid accountability. Yeah. Because with the technology and a lot of the divisive things that are happening within our culture, a lot of the wrong things that are happening, I think that really weighs on us mentally, right? Yeah. And so depression, anxiety, those are kind of the natural byproducts to really settle in. And so I think we're going to need some serious community, and not this fake community where we're oh, I like the word because it's a really cool buzzword. And in theory now, like we're gonna need like genuine community where we sit down with one another and we operate and move like the first century Christians. I'm dead serious. Like,
Yeah.
I think we need to get on that level a bit, like where we really value the time that we have and are open and honest and transparent.
Why do you think it's so hard for people to do that?
You know, I think if anything came from 2020 is the fact that people, you know, didn't have as much trouble hiding that anymore, because it kind of just like everything hit the ceiling. And so we just kind of revealed it all bubbled up. We couldn't fake the funk anymore. You know what I mean? Like we can hide, but you know, it happens. But I think it's hard for us because I think we, you know, again, it goes back to what we see, right? We see influencers, we see beautiful people, and we see a lot of money, and, you know, we don't want to be weak. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't want to be inferior in any way. Like,
right.
there's a lot of ego, selfish pride that we all deal with. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's really hard for us. And I think a lack of trust. I think we've seen throughout society, people just breaking trust with one another and saying really incredibly mean things and acting out crazy, you know? And I think that shapes our reality a bit. And so, but for us, you know, we see that stuff and we run from it, right? Mm-hmm. We run from adversity because we don't want to be hurt. But, you know, we look in the text, right? Like on a spiritual sense, like, you know, adversity is something like to look at as a moment of growth, you know, and to become stronger, you know what I'm saying? And so adversity is actually something that will create a genuine and authentic community, right? Like, so I think, I think we just can't run from that stuff. We can't run from adversity, and we have to be very mindful of what we're seeing and kind of, you know, guard our perceptions with truth.
That's dope, bro. That's dope. That's a good place to end it right there, baby.
Let's go.
That was hard. I love it. Got into AI and then ended it with community and where we need to go from there. I love it, bro. We end the show with the COVID fist bump.
That's how we do it, COVID fist bump?
Until we're out of COVID, and then I don't know what it'll be after that. But
let's do it, fam.
What's drop your handle real quick. I think are you only on Twitter?
I'm only on Twitter. And to be quite honest with you, I'm not really on Twitter like that much, so I don't even remember my handle.
Yeah.
I think it's let me look it up real quick because I'd love to be able to drop my handle real quick. Oh wait, do I got time?
Yeah, you got time. You got
Let's do this.
A little bit of time.
Yeah. So again, AI. Let's go.
This dude doesn't even know his Twitter handle, bro. Let's go.
Here we go. So it's @_DSanti.
@_DSanti. You heard it here.
Yeah.
Dennis, appreciate you being on the podcast, taking time from your family, and just speaking some life into the viewers. So I know they'll get something out of this.
No, definitely. Let's do it again, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Love you, bro.
Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. Love you too. Make sure you subscribe, like, all that, share.
Yeah.
We'll get you on the next one. Peace.